Anderson, and thank you for being here on my YouTube channel. This class is going to be my top 5, or if I had to pick, my top 5 poses that I think everybody should either know or begin their yoga practice with. And it's very difficult for me to even come up with these shorter variations of condensed practice, but these 5 postures are probably in terms of a well-rounded practice going to have the most long-lasting effects. And I'm going to explain a little bit about each one and why I've chosen each one, but first I want to just basically share what the different types of postures are for anybody who's pretty new to yoga and just starting out. So you've got your standing postures or your warrior poses, right? Building heat. You've got your balancing postures, also usually standing. They can be in other ways too, arm balances, So arm balances and balancing postures. You've got inversions, right? So anything that handstand, headstand, shoulder stand, bringing the body upside down. You've got back bends, which are amazing at opening up the front and the back body and releasing this huge energetic shift to your body. And then you have your forward folds. And so the way that we practice these in any specific combination is going to have a very different energetic effect on how you feel. And so I've done my best to pick kind of one from each category. And even though they might not be the most impressive postures, from the outside, I think that they're really important that you have a really good grasp and a familiarity with these 5. And they are child's pose. And I'll run through why when we're actually practicing them and breaking them down. Downward facing dog, warrior 1, cobra, not upward dog, cobra, because of its extreme benefits of strengthening your back body, and tree pose. So with this breakdown of the 5, at the end I'm going to give you a little tiny flow that if you feel like getting creative or it's just a really easy, simple go-to practice, you can spend 10 minutes at the beginning of your day, go through the flow a couple times, and you should have a pretty open, lengthened, and centered way of starting your day. Let's get started in child's pose. Okay, so these 5 poses, as I said, they're a great way to either start your practice. They're also just a great way to start a yoga practice because they give you so much foundational understanding and initial opening. And the first posture, even though it might not look very impressive, is child's pose. So you can either choose to Okay, let's look at these first 5 initial postures that I suggest you either have under your belt as you begin a yoga practice, or they're also just a great 5 postures to begin a flow in the morning that's going to have you feeling pretty well-rounded and pretty ready to go. So child's pose, despite it looking maybe not as impressive, is actually doing several things. Opening up your hips. It's loosening the lower back, which for a lot of people, whether it's sleep or a long day of work, we naturally have to be aware that the spine is going to need a lot of lubrication. And that is one of the biggest things that we can gift our bodies as we age, right? The continual movement of our spine. So when we decide if you want to, assuming your knees are okay, keep the legs together and just rest your forehead down. Now, also what you're doing when you rest your forehead on the earth is grounding not only your senses from anything that they might be preoccupied with, but also you're allowing the brain to drop forward, okay? And what that does is naturally have a calming effect. You can close your eyes, tune within, and you can feel this immediate feedback as your breath is forced from the legs, right, up into your back body. And if this doesn't feel quite right for you and your knees are a bit tender, if there's any issues with your knees, then I'm going to suggest that you take them quite wide and you maybe even bump yourself up, pillow, blanket underneath your knees so you've got more height, and you do the same thing, right? You can also just have the knees wide if there's anything going on, pregnancy, if you do have specific issues that you know of in your spine, maybe try taking the knees wide just to kind of cushion and see how you go so that it's not too extreme with the knees together to start off. Let's take a few breaths here.
I want you to really feel the connection from the base of your spine all the way up towards the crown of your head. The symmetry of your right and left hip. And any tension all running along the sides of your spine. And just feel yourself sinking towards the mat, kind of relaxing inwards. This is a great way to start, just to bring yourself into a bit more focus before you start to move. And then rolling your forehead across your hands or across the mat, depending. We're going to make our way into our downward facing dog. Now, as you round your way up, you're going to line your knees and your feet up. You can even look right underneath with kind of the center of your hip. Now, this is going to be taught in a way that's more appropriate for many different types of bodies. So I'm going to suggest you have your hands slightly wider than your shoulders. Your middle fingers are going to be parallel the edges of your mat. And when you come forward, before you lift your knees off the mat, I want you to scoop your elbows wide down and then press through the hands, especially from the base of your knuckles at the index and thumb. Okay, when you take the inhale, your exhale, you're going to lift your knees up. Your feet are hips distance. You can spread your toes on one foot at a time and then keep pressing your hips back. And again, if you want to make sure that your arms haven't shifted, most of us, right, this is going to be a practice of slowly opening up the shoulder girdle as the back body lengthens, right? So as the back of the legs open, give your head a little shake out. This is one of the most complete yoga postures in my eyes, just because of its many, many benefits, including an inversion. So because of that, as you're breathing here, right, lengthening out of your fingertips, wrapping open your upper back, relaxing your head, I want you to be noticing if there is any pressure building around the temples or just how you're feeling in general with the heart or with the head below the heart. Let's take 2 more breaths. And slowly you start to straighten the legs, but really you want to be lifting those kneecaps up. Right? Activating the legs as you stretch them longer and longer. Let's take the last breath in through the nose and out through the mouth. Beautiful. So come onto your tiptoes, drop onto your knees. Now instead of getting too fancy, I want you to come forward and just lower down in a half push-up. So you want to draw your belly button towards your chin, shoulders move down along the back body and just lower all the way down. Now the reason I chose this versus upward facing dog is that there's just so much to upward facing dog on top of the fact I believe this actually focuses on the back in a more safe and efficient way than upwards does. So in your cobra pose, I want you to put your forehead onto the floor. You're going to lift your legs one at a time and spin kind of the inner thighs to the ceiling. Now make sure you haven't taken your feet wider than hips distance, right? So you can really feel them very parallel, kind of like train tracks. With your forehead down, you're going to press your elbows back, moving the shoulders away from your neck. You're going to look at your hands and make sure that they're not beyond your shoulders and they're not underneath your elbows, okay? They're under your shoulders. You want to be tucking your elbows in nice and close, and then you want to be pushing your hands down and away from each other, okay? And what this does is move the shoulder back and draw your chest forward. Now you're going to feel this likely in this tighter area kind of at the base of your shoulder blades. That's what you want. Now you can also lift your knees, fire up the legs a bit more. Imagine someone standing on your feet and curl a bit higher. So if you hold this for 4 or 5 breaths, you're going to feel how much work the back is doing versus just lifting yourself up with your arms. So super awesome to not only strengthen the muscles that hold up the spine, but to also tone the kidneys, right? To tone the back body. And anything we fire up then becomes warmed up and easier to release. So let's take 2 more breaths here. Good. 1 more breath. Slowly lowering down. Tucking the toes, going into that child's pose.
right? Nice and warmed up. Now we've got more space to breathe into. And I'm going to come back into the downward facing dog position. So I'm going to take the breath in, push into my fingertips, and exhale to lift my knees up. Now I'm doing a fairly short downward dog to demonstrate for you guys. Over time, I'm going to ask you to get a bit more gutsy and really have to work not only harder in the arms, but also with your awareness of what's happening in your shoulders. Okay, so you're really pressing your sit bones up. You're not dropping your chest down. You're pulling your ribs in. You're stretching out fully. Okay, let's get that fourth pose in there. So let's start with the right leg. I'm going to lift the right leg up on the inhale, spread the toes, and I'm going to exhale, step between the thumbs. Now, this is quite long for warrior one. So I'm going to jump my back foot in a little bit and turn it on an angle. Okay, so you can feel when you've stepped your foot forward, all this motion that the hips have available. You're going to wrap that left hip forward and then slowly rise. Okay, so already you can kind of also get the effect of the balance here. You want to imagine that you're leaning forward, pulling your front hip back and wrapping that back hip forward. Then you're going to just sink that heel down and lift your torso upright. A couple things you can do here. If your shoulders are still kind of slowly working their way to open and you're feeling stiff, then just keep your hands shoulders distance. If you want to take them together, you want to lift your gaze. If this is your jam, if this feels yummy, otherwise just keep looking forward and let your head kind of be parallel, that chin with the floor. But as you're sinking deeper into the legs, continue this lift through the crown of the head. Let's take 2 more breaths here. Good, 1 more breath. Stretch up fully as you sink into the legs. And as you exhale, take your hands down. Now I'm going to step, lifting that back heel forward and balance on my right foot. Now I'm going to make sure that my eyes can find one point on the wall or the surroundings, whether it's a tiny detail. Just focus your eyes for a moment. And I'm going to bend my standing leg and bring that left leg, first if this is new, just to cup around your calf. Okay, I'm going to continue to hold this gaze the whole time. If you do know your tree pose, you're going to move that heel a little higher up on your inner right thigh. And you're going to press that knee down and slightly back. Okay, so the hands have just maintained a very light position in front of your heart. If you want to get a little more kind of efficient or a little bit more focused with what the arms are doing and make this harder, right? Lift up. You can interlace. So all these variations, adding different dynamics. If you're feeling wobbly, try taking your arms wide. Right? So just really feel out how the arms and the hands naturally want to express. I'm going to take 2 more breaths here. And the whole time, I'm toning my inner lines of the legs by pressing my right thigh back into the left foot, but I'm also toning my bandhas, right? I'm toning my pelvic floor. I'm toning Uddiyana Bandha, Mula Bandha, and eventually, if you want to go full into it, dropping the chin in, and you can even practice closing your eyes for that moment or 2. And if you wobble, all good. I'm going to take another breath here and slide my left foot down slowly. So you can feel how much work that standing leg had to do. Okay, let's take a little vinyasa. Moving us back down. We're going to exhale slowly, knees bent. Drop the head. Give it a shake out. Lift up, looking forward. And let's step right back to our downward facing dog. So again, middle fingers parallel to the edges of the mat. Bending the elbows out, scooping them down, pressing strongly out of the mat, relaxing the head. Big breath in. Exhale out the mouth. Now this time that left leg's going to reach up, so you're going to breathe in. Press your big toe to the ceiling and then slowly step that left leg forward. Also really great for your core to move slower. Jump your back foot in slightly, and just for a moment, I want you to kind of move your hips almost like you're doing a hula hoop and just feel the range of motion that you have available. Okay, and as you ground down, coming up slowly, again,
Great to build musculature, but also just feeling yourself and where you might be more stable, less stable from day to day. So you're going to lean forward, pull that front hip back, wrap the back hip forward, and then drawing the tailbone forward, rise. You're going to feel this quite a lot in that right hip. So again, whatever you feel the shoulders need most, right? Symmetry, a challenge, where the gaze feels the most effective. And you'll know when you hit that spot in the pose where you feel like you're just going to stay, you're just going to be in it. Even if you send your front knee deeper, you're still pulling the left side of your navel back, right? So you're not going into back bend. Let's take 2 more breaths here. Good, last one. And then slowly drawing your hands to your heart. Good, holding that gaze. Lift your back heel. You're gonna bend the right knee and then just step and then see how steady you are on the standing leg. Begin with your foot either lower, cupping around the left calf, or moving your heel a bit higher. Gaze hasn't shifted. Start with your hands somewhere close to your body. Once you feel like you've got a bit more balance, right, then you can feel free to expand and express. Keep your breath flowing the whole time. And without letting that left knee lock, you're going to press your inner thigh into the right foot. Draw your ribs in, standing tall. 2 more breaths. Good, last one. Slowly drawing the hands back in front of your chest. Inhale to lift the foot off and step the foot down. Okay, now let's weave all 5 of those postures together in a bit more of a fluid vinyasa style. So a little bit faster, but again, make breath and how you feel in each pose the main kind of priority. Dropping hands down by your sides. Inhale, rise, reach up. Exhale, soften the knees as you fold. Lengthening forward, your hands can also be on your shins. You're gonna step back into downward facing dog. Sink your heels, press your chest back, and then inhale forward to your plank position. Dropping the knees, look forward as your navel pulls up to your chin and lower all the way down. Good, pause for a second, lay your forehead on the mat. Slide your toes back, tuck your elbows in and push your hands down and away from each other as you curl up. Inhale, 1. Exhale, down. So root your feet, curl up for 2. Exhale, down. Curl up for 3. Exhale, down. Curl up for the last one, inhale. Maybe lift your eyes a little higher. And lower all the way down. Moving to child's pose, toes together, knees wide. You reach your hips back. And again, just assess as you land that the hips and the knees and the ankles are all happy here. 3 breaths. Really letting your belly relax. Really letting your breath lengthen on the exhale. Last one. Good. Reaching forward before you lift your knees off the ground, taking a look, lining them up with the hips. Big breath in. Fingers are evenly spaced. Exhale up and back. Right leg reaches up on the inhale. Spread your toes, roll your ankle. Exhale, step between your thumbs. Hop your back foot a little closer. You can roll your way up to begin, coming all the way up. And then lean forward, and you can even help your body twist slightly. So your right hip pulls back, pour your left ribs forward, and then come upright once more. Lots of weight on the outside of the back foot. Inhale, rise. Exhale, open the arms in big circle. Do that one more time. Inhale. Exhale. Okay, hands together, hold your gaze, lift that back heel. You're gonna step into your right leg,
Feel free to touch down if that helps, and place your foot right into your tree pose. Okay, holding your gaze, whatever you feel drawn to do here. Big breath in, out. One more breath. Hands to your heart. We're just going to add one extra little element. Lift that left knee as high as you can from the strength of your standing leg and step your foot down. Inhale, sweep your arms up. Exhale, fold.
Inhale, pull the shoulders up as you look forward. Step back to downward facing dog. Inhale, forward to shoulders over wrists. Drop your knees down, press the shoulders back, look forward and lower all the way. We're just going into one here. Untuck your feet, place your hands, elbows in, curl up. Hold. Close your eyes. Feel the knuckles of each finger. Press the hands slightly wide, and then breathe across your collarbones. Get those pinky toes to also root down. If you feel like a lot of pressure in your lower back, then anchor down further into your pubic bone. Take one more breath, maybe lift your gaze. And slowly release. Toes together, knees wide. Land yourself in your child's pose. One big breath. Press your fingers even deeper into the earth as you inhale, lift forward. Set your feet up, exhale into downward facing dog. Right away, left leg reaches up, big breath. Spread those top toes, step forward, and hop your back foot in on an angle. So your right toes facing about 2 o'clock as you roll up. Okay. Feel how your feet are almost trying to pick up the mat. There's something kind of really wanting to grip and help your balance here. Lean forward, pull that left hip back, roll your right hip forward, and then come all the way back up. Let's inhale, hands right through the middle. You can lift your gaze if that feels right. And exhale, open out to either side of you. Inhale one more time. And open out. Finding that gaze no lower than eye height. Lift your right heel, bend, and then slowly step into your tree pose. Nothing needs to be fast. Good, breathing here. Expanding above and beyond if you'd feel like it. If it speaks to you, whatever it looks like, breathe in. And exhale your hands back to that central heart space. Pressing through the left leg, lift the right knee as high as it goes, and step your feet down. Relax your hands by your sides. Big breath in. And feel how grounded you are now on your 2 feet, in your body. One more. So that is just a little example flow of how we would shift all of the benefits of all 5 of those poses to basically complement each other. Now that flow might be a great way for you to start off your day. Personally, that would also be a great way to kind of complete a busy day for me. So not too late, right? Because it's still asking you to move in that vinyasa style, kind of 1 breath per movement. But somewhere between the 4 and the 6 o'clock range, really just to sweep out any tension and residual stress from the day. I hope you enjoyed this. If you do love seeing these videos, then please hit the subscribe, and I'd really, really appreciate the support. And I'll see you in the next video.